Welcome to the Human Relations Day podcast. We're counting down to this special Sunday in January where we empower those in crisis so they can overcome formidable obstacles. Thanks for joining us and for supporting this important cause.
All right, well, welcome to the Human Relation Day podcast. Super excited to have you listening in as we count down to this special Sunday in our calendar that's just coming up in a few weeks. So excited to have some guests on the line with us today. We're getting a 2-for-1, which is fantastic. Becky Baxter-Ballou and her husband. Becky, why don't you start by telling us about your ministry? Tell us what you guys are up to.
All right. Well, I am Reverend Becky Baxter-Ballou, and actually I'm an elder from the Oklahoma Annual Conference, but my husband, Bruce Ballou, and I moved here. It's been almost 4 years now, and we live on the border. We love it here, but it's a very different environment than the one we came from, that's for sure. A lot of need here, a lot of low-income people here, a lot of hope here. So it's a wonderful place to be.
Nice. Well, why don't you tell us about your ministry? What are you actually doing there on the border?
Okay. I pastor a church that it's actually just very, very diverse. We have lots of very small children. We have Hispanic parents that are there, elderly people, and very diverse racially, very diverse actually in beliefs. I also manage a food pantry here, and we feed about 5,000 families a month.
Wow.
I am the executive director of Mission Border Hope 501c3. About in June of 2013, we had a flood here that destroyed about 300 homes. Wow. 700 families were displaced, and FEMA didn't fund the recovery at all. So our ministry has, at this point, we have repaired about 150 homes, and we've had amazing support from UMCOR and from all of our local churches. So that's been wonderful. But what the major thing that we love and that we do is working with at-risk juveniles, at-risk kids. Just an amazing ministry, really.
Very
so
cool.
Kids that get in trouble with the law, kids that have trouble learning to read and write, a lot of people with a lot of need. So,
well, why don't we start talking a little bit about Human Relations Day? There are going to be some people listening in today that don't know about it. Do you remember your first interaction with this special day in our calendar?
Yes, the first time, actually, I was in the Oklahoma Annual Conference. I interned for the Reverend Dr. Stan Bassler at CJAM, which CJAM is just a wonderful restorative justice mission for adults and kids, and then was his associate director for a few years. And I wrote those grants there, and they funded that Exodus house just, I think, forever. An amazing way of helping really vulnerable people make their way back into the world.
Right.
So we got our first Human Relations Day grant here 3 years ago when we first came. We were a startup, really didn't have any idea exactly where, this might take us. We just knew that we needed a lot of help, and Human Relations Day has been wonderful to support our program.
Nice. Now, can you give us a sense of kind of the services you provide, to your clients, or how it is that you, reach out with, at-risk kids particularly?
Yes, I'm going to let my husband talk about that a little bit, but
absolutely.
Let me just say our Human Relations Day grant really has provided a lot of the things that we just don't have the funds for, like they take care of food for our program and ministry things that we have for our kids.
Very cool.
They help a lot with our mission teams that come. We've used that money really for a lot of our basic general operating expenses that we just don't have any other way to get funding for that. But it's been a tremendous help.
Very cool.
From the services?
Sure. I guess to introduce myself, my name is Bruce Ballou. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer for Maverick, Dimmitt, and Zavala counties along the border of Texas and Mexico. Our juvenile probation department is a little different. We are not a corrections punitive kind of department. We're rehabilitative, mental health driven department that we're charged with rehabilitating youthful offenders. And so we really do a lot of mental health services. We do substance abuse services, both group and individual. We do outpatient substance abuse services and inpatient substance abuse services for the youth that we serve. We also do some trauma therapy. A lot of the youth that we come in contact with have been traumatized sometime in their life, and unless we deal with those issues, children's behavior is not going to get any better. So we've really targeted those mental health issues and problems. We do a lot of tutoring and education. We do vocational training. We do daily living skills training and social skills training. Another component that we are doing is we're using our youthful offenders to teach at-risk youth about some of the pitfalls in life, and so we're using them as mentors. Once they're trained and once they start making significant progress, then we will use our kids, our 15, 16-year-old kids, to mentor some of the younger kids. And of course, all this is in a controlled setting.
Very controlled.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we have to
well monitored
about that sort of thing. But what we've done recently is we have teamed up with several child serving agencies in the community and with the local housing authority to target some of the 8, 9, and 10-year-old kids that are at risk for becoming juvenile offenders themselves.
Oh, interesting.
When we first moved here, the first year we had over 50 kids that were arrested for hauling drugs back and forth across the border and working with drug cartels. And see, this is the big problem, is all of our low-income kids, you know, come from generations of poverty, low income, and the answer to that, of course, is drug cartels now.
Oh, wow.
Well, in 3 years' time, we've gone from having more than 50 the first year to having 1 last year. So this has been a really amazing, transformative process, particularly because the churches are involved in the interaction now with the kids. So it makes a really wonderful, wonderful thing.
Absolutely. Well, this is what, it's a great part about Human Relations Days. It's an opportunity to partner with folks like yourself who are doing incredible work. What would you say to a church? Believe it or not, there's churches out there who don't participate in this special day. What would you say to a church that's like, I'm not sure we're just gonna pass on this one. I'm sure there's another special day coming. We're not gonna, participate in this one. What would you say to them?
Oh, your dollars count. Your dollars change the world. Imagine the difference in a community that has no children that are arrested and sent to the penitentiary that become involved with drug cartels. I mean, even for the 50 that were arrested, there were more, I'm sure, that were involved. But imagine a world where drug cartels are not able to take our small, vulnerable kids. Well, this is just God's work in the world.
Absolutely.
We're thrilled to be able to say how really important this Human Relations Day grant is to our program.
Very cool. Now, what you'd mentioned there that the church is involved, kind of intimately involved in helping. How does that? What does that look like? How does that? What's taking place on that part of this equation?
Well, the churches come. We have several churches that visit here that do work out in the colonias areas. They help rebuild homes and they bring clothes, food, all that sort of stuff. They're in mission here. Well, our children interact with them every time they come. Okay. Plus, I guess the best way to tell you about that is a story.
Yeah.
Last time, the Houston United Methodist Church is a prime example of this. Mm-hmm. They come 4 times a year to be with us, and when they come, they set up dinner, activities, prayer. Last time they read a storybook to the kids, but we had a 3-hour festival with, what was there, about 50 kids, I think, that was at our public housing. Some were kids that were already graduated from the program that were there to work with the other younger kids, and then probably 25 of those kids were from 8 to 10 years old, high at-risk youth, but they got to work with these really amazing, loving people, and that's just a wonderful thing. This last weekend, the Coker United Methodist Church was here.
Cool.
We set up a festival at the First United Methodist Church here in town, and they worked with all of Bruce's kids and public housing kids, painted faces, did stories, did plays, did skits. It's just it's a wonderful way of teaching about Jesus, really.
A real good way, I think, of putting it is our kids get to establish relationships with healthy, well-adjusted, spiritual people.
Yeah.
And of course, we can't take juvenile justice kids to church or send them to church camp as a part of their terms and conditions of supervision.
Right.
So when our mission groups come down, our kids get to establish relationships with them. And when those kids ask, why are our mission groups in the community, how much do they get paid?
They always ask, how much money do they make for doing this?
The response or the look on the kid's face when you tell them, look, this is God's work, and these people don't get paid anything, it truly is an aha moment for those kids. They get to understand the restorative justice piece in the process that we are delivering. And there's quite a bit of buy-in from those kids, because what they see is, hey, if these guys can do this, then we as well can do it. And we've taken kids, and they've developed their own community service projects. They identify the problems in the community, and they identify solutions in the community. So, the help that we receive really fosters and folds over and over again. Absolutely. With the notion that I can be part of the solution instead of part of the problem.
Yeah, very cool.
And that's, to me, that's a huge ministry with, and like my daddy says, you get a lot of mileage out of that one.
Nice.
So we are very, very grateful for the help and support that we get.
Nice. Well, I know you guys are busy. You've got a lot going on. That's a lot of ministry happening there. We want to let you go, but if there's a way that people want to learn more about your ministry, about the church, about what's happening there, is a way they could get in contact with you?
Yes. We actually have a Mission Border Hope Facebook page.
Okay, nice.
And we're missionborderhope.org.
Very cool. Well, thanks so much. I really appreciate you being on the show today, and thanks so much for doing the great work that you're doing there.
Well, thank you, Rich, for having us. And thank you so much to the General Board of Church and Society. My goodness, we love and appreciate them so much.
Thank you for joining us for the Human Relations Day podcast. We want you and your church to join us for this special Sunday that supports this important cause. Drop by umcgiving.org/HRD for more information on how to get involved.